Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I got this email from Dina Harding. Subject line, prophecy being fulfilled. And then in the email, straight from the mouth of an apostle, keep up the good work. And then she leaves a link. And the link takes us to this church news article called Prophecy has been and is being fulfilled. Elder Christofferson dedicates Lima, Peru, Los Olivos temple. So we are going to take a look at this, and thank you, Dina, for sending this. Before we get into it, here's the update on the Flood the Earth Challenge. We are at 7,733 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared so far, trying to get to 10,000. Remember, the individual goal for everybody is to try to at least get to 10. If that happened, then this number would be it'd be much, much bigger. And so would probably the missionary contacts as well as baptisms. So please don't hold back. Just try to at least get to 10, but go as far as you can. And we'll see how far we can go with this. Okay, so let's get back to this. This is the most recent item or event on my Second Coming timeline, where I'm just trying to keep track of important events, everything from stuff having to do with news in the church and in the world, and as well as things that may be signs, just trying to keep everything straight. And this is the most recent one. It happened on January 14th, on Sunday. The Lima, Peru, Los Olivos temple is the 187th temple of the church in operation. And we had already kind of talked about this when we were looking at President Nelson's social media posts. I was really looking forward to his first social media post of this year, because I noticed that in other years it seemed like his first post had to kind of do with what happened that year, like the theme of that year or something big that year. So I wanted to know if there was something for 2024. And so this was his post. It's him and Sister Nelson at Machu Picchu in Peru. I'm assuming that he chose this because of the upcoming dedication of this temple. I didn't know if there was anything particularly special about the temple or anything like that, but I don't know. It may be related, it may not. I will remind you, just going on a little tangent, we noticed that in this post, he did his thing where he does sevens. So he repeats the word marvel 7 times in this post. And he's been doing that for every month. Let me look at it really quick. Prophets. Prophets. President Nelson's sevens. So let me zoom out. Every month since September, he's been doing this thing where he lists different names, titles, words, phrases in sevens. Okay, starting with September. He's done it every month. So I guess we're going to see if in February and March he does the same thing. And if it's going to end in March, I don't know. But it feels like he's doing something. But anyway, okay, so this happened. Let's start reading from the article. Lima, Peru. On the day an apostle of Jesus Christ dedicated the newest house of the Lord, the Lima, Peru, Los Olivos temple, the second in the capital city of this South American nation, in the 170th of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a prophecy from an earlier apostle rang true. And we're going to go to the direct source of this. We're going to go right to the source. In his preparations to dedicate the Los Olivos temple on Sunday, January 14th, Elder D. Todd Christofferson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles recalled the words of Elder Parley P. Prat, one of the first apostles of the Latter-day Dispensation. Now, just really quick, I just like to note these things that it happened on the 14th. 14 is 2 sevens together. And we've noticed a few, we've noticed a few things when it comes to temples and sevens. Let me go back to my Second Coming timeline. So for example, here we'll zoom in at 150%. So, for example, we had this interesting thing recently in September, and this was on Rosh Hashanah, where we had 3 temples that were all dedicated on the same day. The first time that that's ever happened, and it was on the 17th. You know, a continual theme with this channel is the numbers 7 and 10, both of them being numbers of perfection and completion. And we've paid a lot of attention to the number 17 because of that, but also because President Nelson is the 17th president of the church, and there's been a lot of other 17s. But you had this, and there's other ones too. Like I think it was earlier that year. Here it is. You had the Richmond, Virginia temple that was dedicated. It was the 177th, and it was dedicated on the 7th. I really think they try and do things whenever possible or practical in order to incorporate the number 7. I truly believe that, and it's not based on nothing. So anyway, okay, so let's get back to this. Okay, quote, he never personally set foot in Peru. Now this is talking about Parley P. Prat. Okay, that's who the prophecy comes from. He never personally set foot in Peru, but viewed the coast as he sailed south from the United States. Elder Christofferson told the Church News. Quote, he was moved upon by the Spirit to state, and we will at this point go to archive.org. This is found in the Autobiography of Parley P. Prat. And if you go down to page 367, this is where it starts. I want to read more than just what's in the article because I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting as to like maybe why Peru has taken off the way that it has. Because Peru is one of the larger countries in the church by membership. If we head over to Wikipedia, membership statistics of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, here we're looking at temples. And right now they're in the the 6th place when it comes to temples. They have 7 total across operating, under construction, and announced. Okay, so 7. And then in terms of membership, which is further down here, they're actually in the number 5 spot. It goes United States, Mexico, Brazil is close behind, and then the Philippines, of all places, which, you know, because typically you think, okay, United States, that makes sense. Mexico, Brazil, that makes sense because of the descendants of Lehi. But the Philippines in Asia, and I've done a video about the Philippines, how they do have some of that blood in the Philippines. It has a unique history. The United States has been involved with the Philippines, of course. Okay, but anyway, after the Philippines, it is Peru. So what we're about to read, I wonder, I'm not a historian, but I wonder if what we're about to read has a lot to do with why Peru is leading the way in South America behind Brazil. It goes Brazil and then Peru. Okay, so this is Parley P. Prat. Peru is tranquil. So he just got done talking about some other countries, Argentina and Chile. And now so this is a letter to Brigham Young. And now he's talking about Peru. Peru is tranquil. I'm going to get rid of that. The public prints of Lima, its capital, have interested me much. They are in Spanish, and I've spent days in their perusal. The government of Peru is much influenced by England and the United States. Its constitution guarantees liberty of the press, of speech, and of worship. But it seems to have remained a dead letter on these points till the present year, in which the Congress Peruana has made a special law to carry out these general principles of liberty, making special provision for the liberty of other worship and for Protestants to officiate in the holy sacraments of matrimony and of burial, which is a step ahead of even Protestant England, where all must go to the national church for these things. Peru has also made a special treaty with Great Britain in which all these liberties are guaranteed to British subjects there. These liberal measures have alarmed, quote unquote, His Holiness, the Pope of Rome, to such an extent that he has issued his letter of disfellowship of the government Peruana, in which he denounces all these liberal measures as anti-Catholic, unchristian, and heretical. This official document in the hands of the Archbishop of Peru and of his clergy has brought to bear with considerable power against the liberal proceedings of the government, but in the meantime, a very learned and talented man, I suppose a clergyman, called Dr. Vigil, and many other writers come out against the Pope in the columns of the public prints. They denounce him in no measured terms as a usurper of more power than Peter of old, who, they say, meddled not with governments, wealth, or any other thing, but to preach the gospel and catch fish. They boldly inquire of his holiness, where's Peter's salary, crown, title, palace, etc., where his dictations of political government. They then inform him that Peru is a free and independent sovereignty and will not be dictated by any foreign power whatsoever. They refer His Holiness to Simon Magus, who wished to purchase the gift of God with money. Remind him and the public how much it has cost certain other governments to purchase remission of sins for similar offenses, and inquire how much poor erring Peru will have to pay to His Holiness for the remission of the great sins she has committed in giving her citizens the liberty to worship as they please, and to marry, die, and be buried in such manner as seemeth them good. Such writings have a wide circulation in Peru and are popular, but are also opposed by lengthy replies and defenses on the part of the more orthodox clergy. All these things go to show that the press, as well as the mind, is beginning to exert its freedom in the countries where, for 3 centuries, all intellect has slept and all freedom of thought been crushed, buried under the incubus of the horrid institutions of the great mother of abominations. Now this right here, this is the part that is, I guess, the prophecy. This is the part that's cited in the article. Should Peru sustain her liberties, a field is open in the heart of Spanish America and in the largest, best informed, and most influential city and nation of South America for the Bible, the Book of Mormon, and the fullness of the gospel to be introduced. So that's it right there. Elder Christofferson is saying that the dedication of the Los Olivos temple is evidence of this prophecy being fulfilled. And it's my understanding, I kind of was like trying to see if I could find anything else about this prophecy. And it shows up, like this is a thing. You go to fairlatterdaysaints.org, you go to these different places. This is on BYU Studies, BYU Religious Studies Center. And this comes up, like it's quoted. This is like basically viewed as a prophecy, and not one where it's like one day comes and then it's completely fulfilled, but rather kind of like the type that is like an ongoing thing, on into the future. So this is really neat. I want to read just one more paragraph. He says 4/5 or perhaps 9/10 of the vast population of Peru, as well as those of other countries of Spanish America, are of the blood of Lehi. 'Tis true they are degraded, civilization is at a low ebb, and modesty and virtue, in the sense they are understood among the more polished nations, may hardly exist among them, even in idea. Yet Jesus came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. The whole need no physicians, but those who are sick. And then he goes on. Well, look at this. Skipping a paragraph. I had much desire to go to Peru at this time, but an empty purse and imperfect tongue, which has only barely begun to stammer in that language, together with the want of books or the means to print them, with other circumstances, all combined to cause me to wait a little till I could study the language more fully. While in the meantime, I return to where I can communicate more fully with the church at home, with the various missions on the islands and with my family, for whom I must do something as speedily as possible, if God will open my way. He goes on to talk about, he's like, you know what, maybe each one of the apostles, yeah, right here. If the 12 apostles, remember, he was an apostle. I don't know if I pointed that out or if it was said, but he was, Parley P. Prat, right here, he was an apostle, okay? And so he says, and he's one of the original 12. I recently put together this spreadsheet, and in this column G, you see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 12. These are the original apostles. More than half of them were excommunicated. A few of them returned. But Parley P. Prat was one of them, one of the original 12. He did not get excommunicated. And it's probably for reasons like this. He says, if the 12 apostles will divide the European languages between them and each become thoroughly versed in one so as to translate the fullness of the gospel and turn the keys of the same, it will be one great step towards the consummation. For a host of fellow laborers would soon be raised up, in each to cooperate with them, and these languages command the influence and keys of communication with most of the nations, tribes, and languages of the earth. I trust and hope also that they will soon be introduced into our university and among the elders of Israel in preference to the dead languages or of those of less consequence. So he actually proposed that all the apostles each take like a language or languages. I guess it wasn't necessarily just one per apostle. And then they translate like the Book of Mormon, which as far as I know, that's not what happened. But you can see his, this is the good type of zealous. I recently did a video talking about not being a zealot, and I think some people misunderstood me. Being a zealot, in the sense that I was talking, is being an extreme person when it comes to politics, when it comes to, your tribe, whatever your identity is, and looking at the other side. If they're not like you, then they're bad. That's not right. And that's what the zealots were like at the time of Christ. They were fanatics, they were basically terrorists. But to be zealous in the gospel, meaning that you do the best that you can, you have an excitement about the gospel, you try and let your light shine. That's the good type of being zealous. But it's different from what I was talking about. So anyway, he's definitely demonstrating some zeal here in being willing not only to like go through this really difficult journey, back in those days, and where they had to like really just pay for themselves and figure out, like kind of make it up as they go when it comes to like going on a mission to figure out what exactly they were going to do. If that wasn't enough, he also wants to translate the Book of Mormon into these different languages. That is pretty amazing. Is it any wonder that he was sent there, at that time to fulfill this mission? It's awesome. Okay, so let's just read that again. Elder Christofferson. He never personally set foot in Peru, but viewed the coast as he sailed south from the United States. He was moved upon by the Spirit to state, and then what we just read. Elder Christofferson listed church milestones in Peru, from organization of the first branch in Peru in 1956. Oh, I should have highlighted that. I thought that I did. Well, no, it shows it. Oh, I guess I just chose the wrong color. Sorry. I gotta fix it. From organization of the first branch in Peru, in 1956, to the country's first stake in 1970. So that was like no time at all. And from the dedication of the Lima, Peru temple in 1986, to Elder Christofferson creating the 100th stake in 2013. Yeah, that is fantastic growth. Then he said of Sunday's dedication of the Lima, Peru Los Olivos temple, quote, "This is a day to pause and give thanks for the miracle the Lord has wrought in Peru. Prophecy has been and is being fulfilled. The latter-day gathering of Israel is well advanced in this nation and continues to gain momentum. All that has transpired since the creation of that first small branch in 1956 has occurred in one lifetime, less than 75 years. Holy cow. Yeah, think about that. Think about President Nelson. President Nelson was born in the 20s. I can't remember at the moment if he was like 26 or 28. But anyway, he was born in the 20s. I mean, 75 years. Let's go to my spreadsheet called, let's see, it's Timeline Apostles. And let's go down here where I have all their stats because I'm a crazy YouTuber. And let's see, 75 years. So you have Quentin L. Cook. That's 83 years old. Dieter F. Uchtdorf, Jeffrey R. Holland. They're also 83 years old. And then, of course, you have Dallin H. Oaks and President Nelson. So all of them are older than the church in Peru. And now the church in Peru, let's go back to this, is, it's over 500,000 and it's growing. And again, they're the fifth largest country in the church in that short amount of time. And some countries have had it longer. Of course, each country has a different population and it comes down to percentages and stuff like that. But, yeah. And look at this. They even have like a large percentage of, the Peruvian population. They have a pretty high percentage that are LDS. Almost 2% of Peru is LDS. Chile is higher. Chile is at 3.26 or 3.26%. The United States is in between those two. United States is at 2%. So Peru is almost to the level of the United States in terms of percentage of the population that are members of the church. I didn't think to sort it this way. Who's at the top? I already knew this. I knew it. I've brought it up before because of the volcano that went off next to Tonga in 2022. Tonga's at the top with 65.2. It's the only country in the world that over half are members of the church. And then Samoa is coming up on half of the country being LDS. And then you have some of these smaller countries, like these smaller like island nations. But it looks like kind of like the first like big country would be Chile, and then Uruguay or Uruguay. New Zealand. New Zealand's above the United States. New Zealand's at 2.3. And then the United States, and then El Salvador. El Salvador is just a little bit ahead of Peru, and then Peru is at 1.94. So, yeah, Peru is doing really well. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, Lima also has the distinction of being the third city to have 2 dedicated temples, and the first outside of Utah. Yeah, so if you didn't know, let's go to Google Earth. Let's go to Utah. And I remember having this thought when this temple was dedicated, the Ogre Mountain Utah temple. This was like shortly after I was married. I realized like, oh my gosh, South Jordan is the first city in the world to have 2 temples. I think of all time. I doubt there's any time in history that any city ever had more than 2 temples, especially in ancient times. And so South Jordan was the first. Okay. You have the Jordan River Temple, and then you have the Ochre Mountain Temple over here in the Daybreak community. But this is not a city. Daybreak's not a city. This is South Jordan. That's the city. Okay. And then going past the point of the mountain down into Utah Valley, you have Provo. You have the temple, the first temple that was there over by the MTC. They're going to be renovating that, just something similar to what they did with the Ogden Temple, because these were like two twin temples, but they had a very dated architecture, and so they're like modernizing those. They're like completely redoing the temples. But yeah, that, and then you have the Provo City Center Temple, which originally this was a tabernacle, right? If anyone knows, just confirm that in the comments. This was being used as a tabernacle building. In like the earlier days of the church, or the earlier history of the saints in Utah, they had special buildings called tabernacles, which were large. It seemed, I did a video about it a long time ago, but from what I remember, they're basically like large multi-purpose buildings for different things. Like, you know, there's like congregate, or there's wards that meet there, and I think maybe they've acted as like stake centers for some stakes, but they're used for like multiple different things. I think the reason why they had these is because back before the time of you know, broadcasting conference and stuff like that, or being able to do like area devotionals that are broadcasted, it was easier for like a prophet or apostle to come here, and everybody in the area come, and, you know, it was a large building. I think that's why. If you know more, put it in the comments below. But anyway, so Provo was the second, and now the third, and this is historic. The third city that's achieved this is Peru, or is Lima in Peru. And here you go. In fact, let me change this right now. Now that this is in operation, I'm going to change this over to white, because that's the color I have for in operation. So there you go. Lima is the third city in the world to have 2 temples. Now, that's there's going to be more coming. You may remember that President Nelson made a pretty unique announcement about Mexico City, where they're going to be doing like these temples around Mexico City, plus one that I think is inside of it right here. Excuse me, unless this is like a suburb. I don't know, but I think Mexico City is going to have 2, because you have this one right here that's been announced. I'm not sure if there's others. What about, wasn't there like Buenos Aires? Isn't that another one? Yeah, it is. It is. Look, this is where the first one was. And then there's going to be this, I think it's called the Buenos Aires City Center. Yeah. So Buenos Aires is pretty soon going to have one. And there may be more, but I just can't think of any right now. Oh, Santiago. Oops. Santiago, I think. Let's see, what's this going to be called? Santiago West Chile Temple. So unless like it's actually in one of these other cities, it seems like that one, like Santiago, would also join that club. Are there any others that I can see just right off the bat? Sao Paulo, also. This is the Sao Paulo East. So yeah, we're about to have several other cities that are going to be joining the 2 temple club. So there may be more. Okay, so that's really neat. Let's move on. The Lord is blessing this country. To have 2 temples in Lima, 4 dedicated in Peru, and 5 more announced is a dream, quote unquote, said Elder Jorge F. Zabayos, a General Authority 70 and president of the church's South America Northwest area, which is headquartered in Lima. So we have talked about this on the channel before. I can't remember when or in what context, but there are 23 areas of the church, at least according to this Wikipedia article. And these are them. In fact, let's go back and forth. I have this pulled up. Okay, so you can see here The world is divided up into these 12 or into these 23 areas. So this is this is what like the rest of the world looks like, except for the United States and Canada, because that has like a separate map. Those countries are divided up into smaller areas, and Utah has its own because there's so many members there. But the area for Peru is right here, and so it just said that Lima is where the headquarters is for that area of the church. You can see Brazil is its own area, which makes sense because they are one of only 3 countries that have over 1 million members, and then Mexico, because they also have over 1 million members. Excuse me. Oh, and then the Philippines, which they're probably going to be the next country to cross over 1 million. Those may be the only countries where the area is the country itself. And then the United States is divided up into several different areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the moment. And of course, these areas are probably going to change over time, just depending on population and stuff like that. Okay, so back to this. Quote, practically nobody thought that in this short period of time that we would have 9 temples, 9 houses of the Lord in this country, he said. So the Lord is blessing this country. Now wait, is it 9 or is it 7? Is this Wikipedia article wrong? Let's go back here. Did I read something wrong? I don't think so. Maybe it's a typo in the article. I'm not sure. So the total is 7 according to this, unless it hasn't been updated. But let's go to a better source. Let's go to LDS Temples. Go to this Church of Jesus Christ Temples.org, which is it's like a private website. Temples, chronology, Control F, Peru. Oh, it shows 9. Lima, Peru, Trujillo, Peru, Arequipa, Peru, Lima, Peru, Los Olivos, and then Cusco, Chiclayo, Iquitos, Perua, Huancayo, and that's the 9th one. So yeah, 9. So somebody needs to update this Wikipedia article because it's not right. It's not 7. Okay. So 9. So if that's the case, that would put them up over Canada if this number is right, because I don't know. Now we have to question this entire thing. But yeah, that's really neat. Okay. 9. So the Lord is blessing this country, he said. Yeah, it seems like it. Okay, I have a few more things. About the Los Olivos Temple. The Lima, Peru, Los Olivos Temple was announced April 3rd, 2016 by President Thomas S. Monson. The Lima North Institute of Religion building and a meeting house, 2 buildings originally on the temple site, were permanently closed on January 27th, 2019 to be demolished to make way for the new House of the Lord. Los Olivos Temple is a symmetrically concrete structure of more than 47,000 square feet, featuring a simple Art Deco architectural style, which, just a little bit of trivia about me. I love Art Deco. I love Art Deco. It's the best. And white granite exterior. By design, the temple is without a central spire to better fit the neighborhood's semi-urban feel. A relatively short, flat-roofed and windowed tower is easily visible, rising above the celestial room from the center of the building. He's cute. Look at that little guy. Before we move on to that, I wanted to see how many temples there were that have a similar design where you have like the flat top instead of a spire. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 by my count. There are some other ones that you could say don't have a spire, but they kind of do. So anyway, you have the Laie Hawaii temple, of course. And these are pretty much in chronological order. So that would have been like the first one. And if you know the story why it's like that, let me know. Each temple has its story. And of course, they're all built to kind of reflect the architecture and style of the community that they're in. So I don't know if that was the rationale behind this temple, but there you go. You have that. You have the Cardston, Alberta temple. And then, of course, the Mesa Temple, one of my favorite temples. I've gone through there once, but I love going to the temple grounds there, especially during Christmas time. I haven't been able to see it since the area was renovated. But the Mesa Temple, this one isn't quite like the other ones. In fact, I don't think there's really a temple quite like this one, the Albuquerque, New Mexico temple. There is an Angel Moroni up there, but I don't think it has like a spire. Let's see if we can find a better picture. Albuquerque, New Mexico, LDS temple. Oh, it does. Never mind. It does. But I still like that front or back facade. It totally does. Oh my gosh, sorry, messed up on that one. Okay, we'll take that off the list. But here you have the Paris, France temple. I know, if I remember right, there was like an issue with this when they were trying to get permission to build this, and I think that's why it has this shape. And then you have the Meridian, Idaho temple, which does have an Angel Moroni on top, but it doesn't look like it has a spire of any sort. And man, does that look unique. Anybody know why they chose this design for Meridian, Idaho? Let me know. Okay, and then here's Los Olivos. And then we have some other ones that are going to be constructed. Belo Horizonte, Brazil temple. It doesn't necessarily have a flat top. It kind of has like a pointy top, but it resembles these other temples more than it would a temple with a spire, I think. And then Singapore temple. It also has like a pointy top. I noticed this building over here. It's hard to tell from this rendering, but I don't know if this is part of the temple grounds or complex, or if this is like some other building. But it looks like it matches the temple. So I'm wondering if this is like some kind of like annex or something to the Singapore temple. If you know, put it in the comments below. One thing that struck me about this structure, whatever it is it kind of looks like Solomon's temple a little bit. You know, Solomon's temple, you have like this first rectangular shape, and then on the sides you have these other ones kind of coming out of the sides. And that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. I doubt that that's why that looks that way, but I don't know. I would like to know more about whatever this building is. And that's it. And then I had just a couple more things to read from here. The gardens have 4 mature olive trees, reflecting the temple's Los Olivos name, planted along the corner paths that surround the building. The trees underscore Lima's historic olive groves, among the first planted on the continent. You have to wonder if that was part of, the Lord's symbolism and what seems to be the importance of Peru. Again, Brazil has more, Mexico has more, but Mexico is North America, Brazil South. But here you have like this other side, the the western side of the continent. And I don't know, there's just this really big country when it comes to church membership. And yeah, maybe that's pretty fitting. I don't know. I like that. Among the first planted on the continent, as well as scriptural references to olive trees, the grounds feature other trees and hundreds of shrubs, and the wooden entrance doors feature carvings of olive branches. So that's really neat. It's exciting. I wish I could go to every temple and experience them all, both the temple itself as well as the temple grounds, because they all have a different feel to them. And when I say different feel, I mean aesthetically. Of course, they all have the same feel as far as like the spirit goes, and feeling like you're in the presence of the Lord. Even when you're outside the temple, there's a special feeling there. But I'm just talking aesthetically. It's really fun to contrast the different temples, which was a lot easier for me to do back when I lived in Utah, and then, somewhat easy living in Arizona. Now the Phoenix area has these 3 temples: Gilbert, Mesa, and then the Phoenix Temple. I'm hoping at some point, even though I don't live there anymore, that there will be a temple in the Southwest Valley, or the West Valley, or the Southwest part of the valley. Goodyear, Surprise, because those are places that I've lived. Man, lately I've been kind of missing Phoenix. Had some good times there, and I love that city. Anyway, and then we got the one that's coming pretty soon to Wichita, which will be the closest one for me. It'll just be an hour away. Otherwise, the closest ones for me is Oklahoma City, Kansas City, and I suppose the new Bentonville, Arkansas temple. I actually haven't looked to see how long it would take to get there, but it looks like it may not be much further from me than the Kansas City temple. I'll have to check that out. Oh, and then there's going to be this other one in Springfield. Okay, so anyway, okay. Hey, put down in the comments how many temples you've been to. Count them all up if you can. Count them all up. Put it in the comments. I would like to know. I can't at the moment. I know that I could, but it would take me a minute, so I'm not going to give my number. I'll do my number after I wrap this up. I'll do my number, and then I'll pin that in case you're interested. I'll pin my own comment in the comments. Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.